Hi everyone, it's Pat and I'm in my studio today. It's a little bit hot here and I am working on this Concertina Sketchbook. I have done a layer already using some mark making and collage and then some gesso to push it back. So I thought I'd continue on and do another layer on here. So I want to make some more marks on it, and basically what I'm kind of working on is line and pattern, and of course repetition. So the Concertina sketchbook I have made is got 8 panels on it. I haven't put the covers on because I know I would get them all messed up. So it's got 8 panels, and I'll be able to do the other side as well. So I've just taped these together. This is just like a piece of artist Bristol. It's not expensive paper and it is warping a little bit on me, but whatever. Just trying to use up stuff I have in my studio. So on this first layer I did use some India ink and different pens and collage paper. So I am going to try a different type of ink, a waterproof black India ink on this one. My last India ink wasn't waterproof and it did smear, which was okay. It made some gray tones. So I don't know. I've had this in my art supplies for a very long time, and I also have some Higgins black, not sure what kind of ink this is, just black ink. So I'm going to try a couple of different things. I thought I'd try using this branch. It's kind of big. We'll see. I love how ink flows. Just trying to get some marks and a variety of marks happening here. So with a branch or twig, you're not able to get very controlled marks, so that can be a good thing. If you want some randomness, and you know, it makes very unique marks. So this piece is so long I can't get it all in the camera at one time. Maybe just put a little bit more back in here. Okay, so that was the big twig. And I am curious about this Higgins ink as well. Just using the dopper on it, pushing out some little polka dots. Still trying to decide if I'm going to keep this going just in black and white, or if I decide to add some more color. And I guess this ink is going to take a little bit to dry, even though it's quite warm in my studio today. So I'm not worried really about getting carried away with this, obviously, because I can go back in and erase some of it with gesso. So that was the Higgins ink, and when that's dry I'll see if they run or not. So that gives it some nice contrast. And I was thinking of adding some more collage elements, something bolder. So also some shapes. So while that's drying, I think I'll cut some shapes out. I like this shape that I already cut out. A few things here. Cut that apart. So this is a great way of determining what you like, honing in your skills on composition as well, and creating something that's kind of interesting, and you can work on it in little bits at a time. It doesn't have to be a long process. You can do a few panels, or you can do one or two steps and then carry on. So I'm just going to cut some shapes. So this is just computer paper that I have painted black, and it makes for nice solid paper shapes. So one of my shapes is circles, orbs, but I'm not sure that I'm liking the full circle on these, so I'm just going to cut it in some different shapes, cutting it in half to like that. Maybe repeat that over here. I really like that leftover shape too, so open shapes I find are very interesting. So just feeling too big overall, I'm going to cut it down. And that didn't end up being as interesting. I'm going to cut this part of it in half. Yeah, that's a more interesting shape somehow. Okay, so hopefully I can start gluing some of these down. I got a real mess happening on my table here. So I'm just going to use some matte medium. Put a bit out in the cap there. Checking if anybody leaves a comment. It's not something I'm very good at. So if you're watching live, please let me know what you're thinking. If you like this kind of thing, where you're watching from. So my India ink is still wet. So I'm going to try and continue on and avoid the ink. And if I smear the ink, well, maybe that'll be a happy accident too. I like the idea of the concertina books because they give you lots of room to work on, and they're like little compositions within themselves on their own page, but at the same time a continuation. So it's a great way of practicing and maybe going out into the field with one of these little sketchbooks and taking just a few supplies with you. This is easy enough to put in your purse, maybe a little smaller, depends on your purse. I'm a person who carries a very small purse. Years ago, I had a problem with my shoulder when I was a floral designer, and I just really burnt my shoulder out. So I just couldn't carry anything, and I switched up to a wallet style purse, and I've upgraded since then to something slightly bigger, but it's still very tiny, so I can't get much in it. The necessities. You don't really need much. So again, I can see there's still some shine on my ink, so it still is wet. I'm watching to make sure I stay in the camera as well. I'm putting the medium on both sides. Using the catalyst wedge to really push it down. So I think that may still be wet. That was the Higgins ink that I put down. It is running a bit, but it may still be wet, so it's not fair to judge it. Okay, so I like the interest of the shapes. I'm feeling this one is a bit big actually. This one's still loose, so I'm going to glue this one on. Yeah, some of my ink is still wet. Well, that'll just add to the composition. Now you could blow dry that as well in between. So this I felt was feeling a little bold. So I'm going to take it down. Every time you cut one of these shapes, you end up with another shape too. That's kind of cool. And I have this little shape too, which is kind of fun. Okay, that's too even. I'm going to take one side off. So I'm not really thinking about composition, but I'm just visually looking at it, I guess, and trying to make the decision quickly, not going judging every single one. Is it balanced? Isn't it balanced? I'm just really trying to ask myself, does it look right here? Does it feel right? And then, there's a 3-second rule with collage, and that's don't labor it, just get it down. It can always be changed, covered up. And sometimes we plan where to put it, and then we drop it down and it's in a new place, and the new place is actually better than it was where we planned. So, oops. I definitely had wet ink under here. Okay, so this one doesn't have any of that paper on. I kind of like that. So collage gives you a lot of permission to try things out, and rather than putting a mark down and then having to change it, you can just move the collage piece around. So it is a fantastic way to learn composition. Okay, so I'm feeling like this needs another little piece. So these things are shapes too. So kind of like the negative and the positive of the shape. I'm feeling that's a little too big. And then there's the other thing about edges. So if we want a edge, if you pull it up, I'm going to get a nice white edge. Okay, so somehow that shape's not feeling right to me. This one feels better. Just going to change it a little bit. Yeah, there, a little more organic. Okay, I'm going to glue it down. All right. I am feeling like it needs some pattern. A little bit of patterning stuff here. This is just my random collage pieces. I also do like using text. The graphic quality of that. I think I'll start gluing some on instead of dithering. So I don't want people to be able to read the words, so I usually cut them up. Yeah, I got some India ink running there. So definitely, if you don't want it to run, switch up to fluid acrylic or acrylic inks. I'm just trying to use things I have because it just seems like I have a lot of stuff that I've experimented with over the years, and it's kind of sitting in the drawers, and I have been working on purging and cleaning stuff out and trying to discipline myself to use things. So and who knows, maybe you find something that you haven't been using and find that you really enjoy it, and you end up using it and go out and buy some more. So you just never know. We tend to be collectors as artists, and kind of like the new kid on the block, we always want the latest and the greatest. So I've been trying to discipline myself to use up what I have. I'm going to cut this up. Cut that white edge off. So sometimes when I'm purging out my magazines, I just sit and look through them and grab a bunch of words that I can use later. So yeah, that's the Higgins ink, and it really is running. Let's see, what else do I have? I'm not necessarily going to put the graphics on all of this. As long as there's repetition along the way, I think that'll work. So this one is a little bit different. Some gray in it. I like that. So big thing for me is just, does it feel right together? And constantly asking, what if I tried this? What would happen if? I think that's just a really good habit to develop, to ask yourself and allow yourself to experiment. It is crucial to developing your own voice. Experimentation, doing your thing, doing something that pleases you. Take an afternoon to play in your sketchbook or one of these concertinas and see what comes out of it. I mean, you don't have to love it. It's just a little piece of paper that you folded up, and you can just keep working on it until it does become good, or you can just say, well, I learned something from that and I'm moving on. It doesn't have to be good. I think we get too caught up on masterpieces and not enough on practice. So I encourage you to practice licking those little circles from some other play day. So a few more over here. So I'm just think I'll put a few of these around this pattern. And I am thinking about shapes here, different sizes, so that they're not all the same and not necessarily going in the same directions. That makes sense. They're a little bit oval opposed to super round. So kind of dropping them down and seeing where they land. Okay, any comments? A little more matte medium, oops. So I don't want that smack dab in the center. I think put it over here. Oops. Yeah, still, that really moves too. So I've just found that India ink just seems to move. If you have a brand of India ink that you find works well, please share that with me. I love using it, but I'm not keen on having to go back and fix everything before I move on. So it's obviously what you would need to do here. this ink is much browner than the ink I used previously. That's also interesting. I don't know. That's not really where I want it, I don't think. Got enough going on up there. Okay. So that adds another layer of dimension to this. And I still haven't decided if I'm just going to keep on with the black and white. But the one thing I feel like doing is more patterning. So I like this little circle. I'm going to see if I can add some more of these kind of oval marks. So this is a Pigma Sensei pen, and I hope it's waterproof. I can't remember. So you got some repetition and pattern happening in here. And I'm feeling like stripes. So, you know, whatever comes up for you, allow it to come out. Don't stop it. Even if you find out later that it didn't really work, it might be the best thing. So just go with your gut and put stuff down. Don't question yourself. That is tapping into your intuition. So because I have so many organic marks, it's kind of nice to add a little bit of linearity to this as well, so that there is a lot of variety. So pattern is also an interesting design element that can create visual interest, as also repetition within your work. And it's very meditative. You can get lost doing this. This kind of reminds me of counting 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then putting the other piece across. And don't be worried about too much, because you can cover over it easy with the titanium white paint or gesso. Some there. Okay, that's looking good enough. it's nice to take some things out of the picture too. That kind of expands the space when we do that. Okay. So, what else do I have here? What's going to add to it, or should I start editing? That's the next question. I love using patterns too, but I'm not sure that I want to add another color or not. But a lot of this goes away. Yeah, I'm finding it too busy, so I'm not going to use that. I think what I'll do now is come in with my gesso and add some white in places. Just clean up some of the grunginess. Checking my comments here. Hi, Lita. Hope I say your name right. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I'm glad you like what I'm doing. I'm just Friday afternoon, you know, not really feeling like doing a big project or working on anything too serious. It's warm and I don't want to have to use too much brain power, so I thought I'm just going to play. Playing is a good thing. My husband's working in the garden, and so he's periodically making some noise around here that you might hear. Checking in on me. If you haven't watched it before already, I have a video on my channel of my garden earlier in the spring. I might do another one too because it's quite different now. So this is the editing stage, deciding, you know, what to let go, what to keep. I'm just trying to clean up a little bit, but I can push some stuff back too. That is what I did within the first layer. I put gesso over and then scraped on it to just soften it down. Now I might get better coverage with white, titanium white paint as well. This doesn't seem to have really strong coverage. So I'm starting to analyze these now. They're not, you know, feeling like they're totally finished piece, but I like to push that circle back, I think, and maybe even this a bit. Just to integrate it into the background a little bit, but I don't want to lose the strength of the black and the white contrast either. So you have to be careful about that because it is easy to push everything back and, you know, lose it all, lose your value contrast, especially when you're working close. It feels like it's jumping out at you, but when we look from a distance, we really need that contrast. So I'm going to kind of cover some of those dots up. So this feels a little dirty. I'm just going to go over that. Now this black circle is a little bit sticking out to me too, so just try and gray it down a bit. So this was the other India ink that I used. To check and see if it smears with some water. Something smeared there. All right. Okay, I think I'll integrate this a little bit too. Okay, those are looking interesting now. I'm just going to check and see if that ink runs a lot. So, how's this? Okay, so that one doesn't run. Okay, that does what it says. So that particular ink is the Rapid Graph Rapid Draw ink, and I've had this forever. It costs $5.70. So I don't even know, I haven't seen this, but I'm sure maybe you can still get it. If I find out, I'll put a link in the description with the information, but it doesn't run, so that is really good. The Higgins ink, on the other hand, did run. So that was this ink that I put the little dots on. It seemed to want to run. Now I'll try it in another place. Yes, it runs a bit. I think, in all fairness, I think perhaps it was still a bit wet, but definitely the other brand, the Rapid Draw works. So experiment, have fun, and I'm going to leave these for now and see what happens to them the next time I come back to this little book. So thanks for watching and enjoy your weekend. Bye now.